What's up? This is your boy speaking on Audacity. I'm Andrew Rice.
I'm James J. Miles.
And I'm James the Jester Stewart.
I'm Alex Musselwhite.
And you're listening to Monster Mash.
And on this week's episode, we are hunting Pukei Pukei.
Ooh.
It was a wonderful world.
A flying wyvern known to possess poisonous toxins in its body. It's been spotted storing scatternuts in its mouth or tail, coating them with poison and spitting them out at threats.
Does that in its introductory cutscene, doesn't it?
Yeah. It does that during the hunt as well. Like if you let them, like you fly up to the high parts of the ancient forest and like, well, not high up parts, but parts where like the scatternuts are about, and you'll see them like eat on them.
I think he did it in the hunt we just recorded, which you'll see next week.
What do you mean by spitting them out? Like I can't.
He shoots them.
I think that's part of like, see when he's spitting
Really?
like poison, like I think the seeds come out at the same time. That's why like it does like a good bit of damage if you're hit by the poison, not only just getting the poison status.
Yeah, see, I can think of throwing up. I've never really noticed that they are scatternuts personally, but there you go. That could just be me being ignorant.
So it is another chameleon monster
Mm-hmm.
in the series.
Big tongue.
Yes.
Your favourite?
So
Less big
this
this
guy's
time, less
tongue
big.
is okay because
Oh, you can handle that.
it's
Even
not
when he
like-
licks his own eyes.
it's not like I've not seen him do that before. Oh god. It's not like long in obscenely long like your boy Volvidon. It reminds me of one of those like party streamers that you blow. Like it seems like it like inflates when he sticks his tongue out.
It's like an in between like tongue like of like Volvidon and Chameleos.
Yeah. And so this tongue is fine, and this monster is also fine. I actually quite
Yeah, I
like
really
Pukei
like
Pukei.
his design. It's fun.
I don't know if you remember, but during the beta they did, like this guy felt super exciting because like he had the chance to turn up
Yeah, just like
in the
random
ancient
chance,
forest, like rather than having like was it Anjanath you were hunting in the ancient forest in like Great Jagras and Rathalos, and this guy could turn up, so he felt super exciting. Whereas really he's like the third monster in the game, the third new monster.
Yeah. Or like fan videos like going about where like the first person like that discovered them, like some like German like Monster Hunter player, and he was just like going crazy like when he found them.
Yeah. Yeah,
Great.
and it just felt like, oh my god, it's Pukei Pukei! Oh, it's so exciting! And it's just Pukei Pukei's there in the game really easily, really
Yeah, he's like
quickly.
very. He's quite interesting in the high rank though. Like when they introduce him in high rank, like the difference from like low rank version to high rank version is like it's really massive in my opinion. Like when it starts like spewing the poison smoke about with his tail.
Yes, yeah, that's a cool move he does.
Mm.
It's quite interesting as well because he's the first monster you encounter in high rank, and he's meant to be like your introduction to this. This is harder monsters now. This is the big boys Monster Hunter game.
Yep.
Which if you're a new player to the series, the way they kind of set that up is pretty cool because they do have that kind of air of mystery about this Pukei Pukei is not in the ancient forest. What's going on?
Mm-hmm.
Why is he so strong? So that's interesting. I like that. I like that they did that. What were your thoughts on the Pukei Pukei when you first squared up to him there, Mas?
I remember last week I talked about how Kuliaku taught you a lot about spacing yourself.
Yeah.
I think one of the like Pukei Pukei kind of takes that to the next level because you have to deal with poison. They actually have to deal with like area of effect and poison stuff for the first time. And one of the things I think I didn't realize so much at the time, but it really like hits home for new players, is you actually have to prepare for hunts. So if you don't have any antidotes on you, poison's a thing. It's gonna hurt if you just try and suck it up. So because that's something that in the first 2 fights in the game, you don't really have to worry about it too much. The game does sort of make a point of saying you should probably prepare, but you can kind of just wing it. And it's not that Pukei Pukei is a particularly super challenging fight, but it's quite a nice introduction into the first element of the game. So it's a memorable fight for that reason as a new player, because it's throwing a new mechanic at you that you have to get to grips with.
He's the first
so
one that like inflicts a status. Isn't he?
Yeah, that's right. He's the first status element monster.
He's the third monster, isn't he? So
yeah.
And I think they're quite forgiving in that sense that they do have a ready-made item set that's got like antidotes in it. So, if you do faint to this monster as a new player, then eventually you'll make your way to the item box and you'll see that they've already created this this little set you can take and probably win with, because you got all you need in a little set: potions, meat, and antidotes.
I mean, I don't think I'd ever stumbled upon the item sets, to be fair. That's some crazy shit. I think had Jas not told me about it back in Monster Hunter 4, I probably never discovered that. So
you think?
I genuinely don't think I would.
There's a lot of menus. There's a lot of menus to go through. I think it's easier to manage in World. Like I find, because it's like there. Like it's like when you go into the item set, if you press options, like it brings it up, like the whole pouch.
But that's it. I definitely played through all of 3U without ever making one, because I just didn't know it was a thing.
Yeah, equipment. They had equipment in 3U. They never had item sets though. 4.
Oh, did they not? Okay, fair enough. Well, there we go.
Yeah, item sets were new to 4 Ultimate.
I think what's quite interesting about Pukei Pukei is that he's obviously designed after a lizard and a chameleon with his face and his tongue and everything, but he's got that Monster Hunter thing of being like weirdly bird-like, because he's got like those green and purple feathers, and he's got the tail, and he can fly about, and he's got the kind of bird wyvern stance.
Bird wyvern.
Yeah. It reminds me almost in a little way then, because of the fact, especially because he chucks poison, of Yangaruga in a weird kind of way.
Yeah, I can kind of see that.
And I think he does the classic bird wyvern thing of the Yangaruga like whip his tail around him, doesn't he? Like the T60 tail whip. I'm sure he does.
He's much less aggressive than the Yangaruga, but yeah, I can certainly see that they fulfill a similar role.
I don't know, like when he gets enraged, like he does that Yangaruga thing of his eyes and his face all going red. So I think they were, probably more than likely drawing inspiration from the Yangaruga when they were looking at Pukei Pukei.
I wonder if it's because Pukei Pukei is the first toxic animal that you face, and obviously in the wild, like when I think of a toxic animal, I think of those those like various poisonous frogs you get that are like these really vivid blues or reds or whatever, these colours that say I'm really poisonous, so like you could eat me but you'll die, so like don't. And it's when Pukei Pukei is in his rage mode, that's the time you're most likely to be affected by his poison. So I wonder if it's a little hint to sort of Animal Kingdom stuff as well that the designer had in mind when they did that.
I think kind of universal, like red equals danger is something they do quite often in Monster Hunter. They always have like the kind of red angry faces, the steam kind of puffing out from their nostrils, and the general overall impression that this monster is fucking pissed. It's gonna take you down.
Yeah, I gotta say, like it's the first rage mode that I think I really noticed as a player, because there's a very striking visual change and like a fairly striking behavioural change as well. Like it's very clear that the Pukei Pukei is much more agitated when it's enraged. So I think
he does, like he kind of like throws his arms out and kind of runs at you like with reckless abandon, doesn't he? If I remember rightly.
Because you said arms there, like it's just a picture on like a Pukei Pukei with actual arms. So it's a scary thing.
Like actual human biceps.
Actual human arms, yeah.
don't want to think of it. We're doing a weird thing on the like that. We did the Kuliaku, like we humanised him. Like he's going for a job interview, and then Pukei Pukei has.
You're the one that said arms when he's clearly got wings. Flying
what I meant,
wyvern.
like the. Like,
I know what you mean, though, but it's just
like the vestigial
Just
arms.
like Batman.
you're the one setting up that picture in my mind now. So
What do you mean, like Batman?
He's got kind of wings, isn't he?
and I like the fact
What?
that
He's
the
got a cape
It's his cape, yeah, but he must have to hold his cape, surely. Like, and
with his
sort of-
arms.
with his arms. Yeah, that's what it is. Like it's just a cape that Pukei Pukei's got now. It's just hiding his arms underneath his
To
cape.
be honest, I am now very much wondering how like Batman's cape works. So
That's a whole rabbit hole to go down there, Andy.
No, there's only one monster with a cape, and that's my boy Gore Magala.
I was just going to bring up there the fact in the notes there it says the behaviour of the Pukei Pukei is known to like bully the smaller monsters, and now that we've mentioned that he's got like big bicep, like muscle bound arms that he's just going about clotheslining like all the small, all the
comes
small
along
monsters.
and puts Craig Jagras in a headlock.
Yep.
Like he starts scratching his head with his knuckles. A wee noogie.
But yeah,
Then-
noogie.
Then and then Anjanath comes along and takes him down a peg or two.
I was just going to say, following on from, there's the observational report that says he bullies smaller monsters, but then it goes on to say that, the first sign of danger, he legs it. And I was just wondering if any of you guys have sort of noticed that in, like, Pukei Pukei's in the game or not. Like,
I've not. No, see, that's the thing. Like, he always seems to. Maybe it's just because I've been fighting him. Like at the same time as a monster comes in.
I think he legs it from Anjanath pretty quickly. Like it's very rare he hangs around.
I think there's other monsters that show that off a lot better. Like, well, I mean, Kuliaku is one of them. Like, Kuliaku, if another monster comes up, he's like, alright, well, I'm going to take my egg and I'm off, see yous. And,
I don't know, like, Kulas often smashes him with a rock. Like, I rarely
Yeah, he'll
see...
hit him with a rock and then he'll run pretty quickly, like
Yeah,
afterwards.
but I rarely see a Pukei, like, actually fighting back against the big monster. Like, he might get attacked a bit himself, but he doesn't really go back for the monster. He's just
That's
attacking
fair.
you while you're in the area.
Yeah.
That's
Like,
fair.
he knows who he can beat, and he'll fuck off if he can't.
That's fair. I mean, I think the monster that does it best, and we'll probably talk this a bit more in length in his episode, is probably Sisiaku, in terms of, being a big old coward.
Once again, I think that it's definitely more Pukei's thing than him. But I mean, yeah, like I said, I don't see Pukei facing off against anything that is not weaker than him. Like, he may be in the area, but often not for long, and he certainly won't directly attack them. CC will flash anything, so yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, but I don't know. I've not really noticed it myself. What I was going to say there is, interestingly, thanks to our esteemed reporter from Japan, has been pouring away in the Monster Hunter annals for weeks on end now. Has identified that Pukei Pukei was based on flowers, and one of its design concepts was of an accordion, which
That's like
I
because
do
his tail's like that, like in higher rank, like it
Yeah.
all puffs up, it stretches out,
Yeah.
kind of like an accordion.
Oh yeah. Oh, he nails himself in the ground, doesn't he? Or is that Raffian I'm thinking of? I'm thinking of
I
Raffian.
think
I don't
you're
know.
Don't you think he'd have Kezu?
Okay.
No, he props himself on the ground by the tail, but I think that's Raffian I'm getting confused with.
No, I think it's just for the fact that when he spews out he only does this in high rank when his tail like puffs up. That's when he's getting ready to spew out like the poisonous area of effects, like smoke, and like it just kind of folds like up like an accordion, really.
yeah.
Yeah. Fair enough. In terms of his name, speaking of our esteemed reporter, the name just comes from the Japanese name. I guess that's just Pukei Pukei, but it's like puke. It's spelt like that. So it's just the romanized version.
Considering what he does.
Pukes up a load of poison, as Lucas said here. It does mean something else in the in the Philippines, though. Does anyone want to read our boys' notes here? Andy?
Everyone jumping on that.
It means vagina.
Please don't say that again with your mouth so close to the mic.
I moved it closer just for that as well.
Yeah, I first heard like that brought up by Gaijin Hunter, like actually, and he like kind of thought it was quite funny as well.
So there you go. If you're a listener in the Philippines, then you probably laughed a lot at this boy.
Like a lot of instances like that though, with like monster names passed on like present, I'm sure, where they just don't fully think through like the full translation.
It's got to be
I mean,
tough,
you
like-
can't think through like all 100 or 200 whatever there is languages.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, obviously, yeah.
Just
Yeah,
chuck it into Google Translate, and if it comes up with a rude word, just go, uh-oh, back to the drawing board.
I mean, I imagine that happens for most words. End up on Urban Dictionary, you know.
Especially with this game when it's going to be like all the names are quite similar, whether you read them in English or in Japanese. So
Yeah. We spoke about Chameleos earlier on, and it is pretty interesting that Chameleos, Kushala Daora, and Teostra have always been a bit of a terrible trio, turn up with each other. Like they're meant to be like kind of almost like a weapon, rock paper scissors kind of triangle element to them all. And we've got Kushala in this game, we've got Teostra in this game, but no Chameleos, which maybe is because they didn't want 2 chameleon monsters in a game.
yeah, maybe it's just like, or maybe they wanted like a specifically new monster that controls like the poison like status, other than obviously Rathian.
It might just be because the roster of monsters in Monster Hunter World is a bit smaller than the other ones. So I think that one of the strengths of this game is that each fight feels quite unique, and they probably didn't want too much of an overlap. So you're probably onto something there. But
I mean, I think Caminos is separate enough that it wouldn't have been a problem. To me, the issues would be more around like his effects would be quite difficult for World, like the mist in the area. I think I don't really see that fitting quite so well.
Not in
the world template.
Yeah, like not in the areas we've got, and like from the areas we've got, it wouldn't really work, unless they had it kind of like a rainforesty effect in the ancient forest. But even then, I wouldn't really see that working there. I think they would need kind of like more of a swamp area for that to come across as a believable effect. So I'd see where you're coming from there. So that's our episode on the Pukei Pukei all wrapped up. Next week, big old fish, Giratus, to join us for that one. Big old mudfish. I was not thinking of a pun for that one because
no, clearly.
no.
At the times where I've actually sat and spent effort on trying to think of a pun, you've all gone, oh, blah, boo.
That is the correct reaction to any
I've sat and put effort
regardless
into my
of
puns. What are
quality.
you talking about?
While I try and, stop myself from crying about that comment, Andy, please tell them where to find us.
You can find us on Twitter. We're at Monster Mash Pod. On Facebook, Monster Mash. Our YouTube has now been relabeled to Monster Mash Podcast, so we are actually
and actually like really easy to find now because it comes up instantly.
Exactly.
Yes.
So you can go on there. You can see the hunts for the last 2 weeks worth, and now obviously next week you'll be able to see this one in all its glory.
Yes.
And on your podcast apps you can subscribe and leave us a comment, give us some 5 stars, all that jazz, and there you go.
And please tweet at AndyMan949 how Batman's cape works.
Or pictures of muscle-bound cookies.
I want to know.
With diagrams. Extensive diagrams on how it works. But despite that, thank you for listening.
See ya.
Cheerio.
Cheers.
Goodbye.
No! I'm gonna have to intervene.
I like the fact that the no has also become a part of the outro in my mind.
No. No.
That was the worst impression of Jay I've heard.
No.
And I've tried it myself.
No.